Okay, so we now have a short 15-minute fireside chat. This is going to be about 2030 and 2050, the two milestones, one vision strategy. So we will be hearing from Doctor of Engineering Abdulla Hamad Obaid Ghfeli, Acting Director General of Integrated Transport Centre, and I'd like to welcome back to the stage, please, His Excellency Sharif Alolama. Please, would you join us? Thank you. Yeah. Thank you very much. So, very interesting opening remarks. Genuinely inspiring to hear some of that detail that you shared with us. But what I'd like to understand is, so 2030, only 5 years away, then 2050, these milestones, transformation milestones of the UAE. From your vantage point, Your Excellency, how are these visions shaping, if you like, current priorities and strategies? One's 5 years away, one's a lot further away.
I'd like to start by talking, let's say, about 2030, and all of us were heavily involved back in 2023 in COP28. And as we all know, COP28, one of the major outcomes is that we all, as a globe, recognize that we are far off from what we need to deliver when it comes to climate goals. And therefore, the strategy that was followed by the presidency of COP28 was to introduce intermediate milestones, which was basically 2030. And we put certain key targets for ourselves by the year 2030. So for us, when you look at mobility and green mobility and the transformation that we are anticipating to see in the transport ecosystem, 2030 is basically a year where we do require certain results to come into light. We want measurable outcomes. It is not fully about just electrifying a number of electric vehicles. No, it is much bigger than that. We need to build a robust infrastructure that actually entices the public to go and adopt electric vehicles for their day-to-day use. We've seen that over the period of time, and I'm talking about over the last 2 years, we've seen vast improvement in terms of EV penetration in the country. What have we done to date, if I were to recap? And I'm talking over here as UAEV because I happen to chair the board of UAEV. Sure. We have already, by the end of 2024, installed over 104 EV charging stations across the UAE. The target that we have for the company is to at least double that number during this year, 2025.
Right.
And the intention over here, Roger, is to build a backbone that will allow this major transformation that we are anticipating in the transportation sector. Of course, all of this is, I'm covering on the operational side, but also as a ministry, as a regulatory body, we need to support this kind of shift, this kind of change, it being in behavior, it being in customer approach. And you can only do that by introducing it in robust frameworks. And here, when I talk about this, this kind of shift is clearly spelled out in the country's net zero strategy by 2050, in our ministry's energy strategy 2050, and we have developed a robust national demand-side management program, which looks at 4 major sectors: industry, buildings, agriculture, and very importantly, transport. For transport, we have a number of plans, it being green mobility, bulk transport, and others. And we have set clear targets for ourselves for each of these sectors in terms of what kind of emissions we are trying to reduce, what kind of penetration we're trying to achieve when it comes to electric vehicles. I think what I need to also mention is that today we are already seeing numbers. So we are anticipating by the year 2030 that we will reduce around 150 kilotons of oil equivalent when it comes to energy saving.
Wow.
When you look at CO2 reduction, we are anticipating for the entire transport sector a reduction of around 309 kilotons of CO2 emissions. If you look at only the green mobility project that we have, you're looking at somewhere in the range of around 210 kilotons of CO2 emissions reduction, and all of this by the year 2030. So the numbers are there, and we are seeing these numbers actually being achieved as we go, as we progress to 2030. I think last, I talked about 2030 and what we are planning to do. 2050 for me is when vision turns into legacy. For me, 2050 is not really about how much EV vehicles are sold in the country. 2050 is when we are going to transform the entire transportation ecosystem. We are doing quite a lot when it comes to 2050, where we are partnering up with the private sector, and I'll talk more about it later on in this fireside chat.
Definitely got a question on that.
But for me, the message over here is the private sector is a key and a critical part of the solution.
Right. That's a very comprehensive answer, and it's great to hear the tangible assets, the metrics to take you to that point. We hear, I think, around the world, too many, if you like, announcements and targets, but without plans that are stepped and in increments to get there. So that's very encouraging to hear. Given that was such a comprehensive answer, Dr. Abdulla, would you like to add anything to that?
Yes. First of all, I would like to thank you all for having us here and for this nice panel. Just to add to what my colleague just mentioned regarding the infrastructure and the readiness of the infrastructure for the electric vehicles. Abu Dhabi Mobility, from a policy and strategy, are fully aligned with the UAE net zero plan for 2030 and 2050. 2030, it's close to us, and we can see that we can rely on the current technology that will lead us to this stage. And many initiatives have been raised by different stakeholders, not only by Abu Dhabi government or Abu Dhabi Mobility, but from all stakeholders and manufacturers in the market. Just to highlight what have Abu Dhabi have done starting since 2016. They have initiated committees to encourage the people to shift to green vehicles. That was where the technology was limited. There was not that mature technology, and there is no much mature manufacturers who can build these massive number of vehicles that we can see today. However, in the recent years, we started the Green Bus program in Abu Dhabi, which target to convert 50% of the mass transit in Abu Dhabi to electric buses. Adding to that, expanding the electric vehicle charging infrastructure. Adding by this year more than 1,000 charging points at the network of Abu Dhabi.
Very good.
But this is with the collaboration with our stakeholders and with the public sector as well, and the private sector. Moreover, regarding the taxi fleets that we are operating here in Abu Dhabi, we have 96% low emission vehicles that are serving the taxis, which are whether CNG powered vehicles or hybrid vehicles. However, we are encouraging all the operators to add the fully electric taxis. And we have a target of 25% zero emission vehicles by 2030, which is soon. We are talking a 5 years plan. Adding to that, we have invested, or we have investigated to have a school bus fully electric, and it's been operating now, which is a good start to reshape even the school transport in our industry.
Electric buses, electric taxis, this is wonderful to hear, because I think around a lot of cities in the world that has been neglected. Yes. And there's been a lot of focus on fancy electric cars, which is glamorous and exciting. But, you know, we've got to think about air quality, particularly in urban areas. So that's very pleasing to hear. Because we've only got a few minutes, I would like to get back into a point about, you know, the private sector. You mentioned, Your Excellency, both in your presentation, your opening remarks, and your answer to the first question, the importance, the significance of private stakeholders. If you have a message to them, I know there are a few in the room, I think you recognized one when you came in, what would it be that you want to see them do in concert with your plans and ambitions?
The main message, I think, for the private sector is they need to recognize what we're trying to do when it comes to greening mobility in the country. This is not just a government initiative. It is basically a national call to action. We are doing our part as a ministry, and even the local governments are doing their part, as His Excellency mentioned. But also the invitation is open for the private sector to co-create with us and build that future that we are anticipating. I'll give a few examples, and I think maybe His Excellency also might dwell more on that. I'll give the example of Abu Dhabi. Abu Dhabi, through ADIO, created the SABI cluster, the Smart Autonomous Vehicle Industries cluster.
Right.
And this is a real example of how you get the private sector engaged. This cluster actually has all the metrics in terms of providing incentives, providing regulatory support, providing technical guidance in order to entice the private sector to pilot, to manufacture, and to bring in smart solutions in a sector that really requires an overhauling. And this was done back in 2023, and we're seeing very good results so far. We as a ministry took this kind of a template and we expanded it further. What we created in the ministry is what we call the EV Majlis. It's a Majlis. We gather all the EV manufacturers, all the infrastructure providers, and basically it's an open dialogue where we engage with them to see how we can support them when it comes to policies, when it comes to incentives, when it comes to infrastructure expansion. And one of the creations from this Majlis was UAEV. That was a result of one of the EV Majlis that we did. I think the numbers talk for themselves, Roger. We did the EV Majlis back in 2022. If my memory recollects correctly, the total EV sales in the country was around maybe 7%, if I'm not mistaken. After creating UAEV and expanding the network, in the end of 2024, the total EV sales was over 25%. So
wow.
We saw a huge jump. And that was basically addressing the need. And this is the type of partnerships that we ask for. It's a win-win partnership, because we as a government, we are meeting our mandate, we are meeting our national agenda, and the EV manufacturers are also benefiting from additional EV sales. We are not only limiting to EV. We are also partnering up with BIA, where we are going to be creating the first battery recycling facility in Sharjah, recycling all the lithium-ion batteries. Yep. We are partnering up with the likes of Pact Capital, who are addressing the last mile, where we are introducing electric two-wheelers. We are partnering up with Charger, that is addressing the emergency on-demand charging, like the CAFU.
Right.
So these are all clear models of profitable partnerships that is open to the private sector.
Wonderful.
For me, it's an open invitation to the private sector. We are here to do business.
Yes.
And those of you who are willing to take this extra step and willing to join us to build a future that is not only good for us, but for generations to come, we are here to do business.
Wow. Wow. Do you know what? Hearing you talk and explain that, and the evidence of the increases that you've got, yeah, genuinely, as I said in my opening, I'm wondering why it's taken me so long to come here, to be frank. Sadly, I can see we've run out of time. A couple of quick things from what you said. Call to action. I like that. I think that's very much about, getting the job done. And I love the word you used a moment ago, Your Excellency, entice. It's great to hear, people in a position of authority and leadership talk about enticement rather than command or control. That's a much more, I think, productive word to use. And so that's very good. And some of the other things you've talked about, I know we haven't got time to go through them all, like bidirectional charging, but especially talking about buses and taxis, that definitely, is lovely to hear that. Sadly, that is all we have time for as our fireside chat, but I would like you, on behalf of myself and the rest of the audience, to thank and appreciate your time in coming here, opening the exhibition, and sharing your thoughts with us this morning. So congratulations and thank you.
Pleasure.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you. It's very inspiring. Thank you.